Is the video that Chad requested about deadlifting, the different variations, the different techniques. So the three what we're going to go over are going to be, whoops, sorry about that. The three we're going to go over are going to be the Romanian deadlift, the conventional deadlift, and the sumo deadlift. This first one I'm going to show you is the Romanian deadlift. And remember, the Romanian is the far end of the spectrum on the squat deadlift spectrum. So it's way towards the deadlift because it's completely a hip hinge. It's all movement through the hips. You don't want to bend the knees barely at all. It's just at the very beginning of the motion, you're going to have a slight bend in the knee, and you're going to hold that bend through the entire motion. But the setup and everything is the same on all these lifts. You're going to get real close to the bar with your shins. You're going to push the hips back. You're going to grab the bar with the particular grip, whether that's alternating or an overhand, that's up to you. You should have a nice flat back, and then you're going to initiate the movement by driving your heels into the ground and then hinging the hips forward and squeezing the glutes. So this first one, here's the Romanian deadlift. And you'll see back's flat, finish with the hips. Hips go back, boom, every time. And Chad, this is something that I wanted to make sure and talk to you about, is that at the top of the lift, we should see your butt kind of deflate so that it's not as round as it is if you weren't squeezing it. It kind of hides on you because those glute muscles tuck in as you squeeze them. And you also notice the back is still relatively straight. I'm not arching my lower back to lean back away from the bar. And then you also notice at the top, when I finish, the bar actually moves. My hips actually push into the barbell. So you can see it here at the top of each of the finishes here. I shove my hips into the bar. That's what you want. You don't want that bar to restrict you from moving your hips forward. Okay, so that's the Romanian. And the Romanian, like I said, it's all pure hip movement. It's hips go back, hips come forward, very small bend in the knee. The next one we're going to talk about or show is the sumo deadlift. That's a wide stance, hence the name sumo. Okay, the width of the stance is going to be completely a personal preference thing. Some people go super wide, some people go pretty narrow. The main difference is that you're going to have your feet set wide enough so that your hands can go inside your knees. Okay, so same setup. Back's nice and flat, hips are back, neutral spine from the tail to the base of your skull. Your neck is still part of your spine, so it needs to be neutral. Looking at the ground, getting set up, grab the bar. We're going to take some slack out of the bar, engage the lats, sit back into those heels, and then initiate the drive and finish with the glutes. Same thing. Glutes disappear because we're squeezing them. We're not leaning back with our lower back. We're not arching through there. Finishing every time. And at the top, I tuck my chin. That's just to help me to remind myself to keep my eyes down. That's just a cue I do for myself. It's not necessarily something you have to do. Okay, so that's the sumo. And just like it's almost it's the same motion. You're just using a little bit more knee bend. You're kind of blurring the lines between a deadlift and a squat with the sumo. So you've got a lot more knee bend. You've still got good hip hinge. You've still got a forward lean, but you're having quite a bit more knee bend. And that just, one, it just limits the range of motion a little bit more, which makes it a little bit easier. And two, it can be a nice transition for someone who's learning to squat at the same time as trying to master the deadlift. So you kind of it can be a good learning pattern for some people, but and some people feel more comfortable pulling with a wider feet than narrower feet. So that might be something to consider when you're thinking about loading up your deadlift real heavy. You might be more of a sumo puller than a conventional. The third one we're going to talk about is the conventional, and that's the one I'm getting ready to demonstrate right here. The conventional is still a deadlift, but it's further towards the squat end of the spectrum on the squat deadlift spectrum. So it's not purely hip movement. You're going to have some knee bend in it. So the way you set up is you still set up like you're going to do a Romanian. So you've got a nice flat back, hips are going back, you're going to have a slight bend in the knee, you're going to grab that bar, but then to make it into a conventional setup, you're going to actually bend your knees to drop your hips and allow your hips to drop down and put yourself in a position to where your shoulders are higher than your hips. And the reason why we do this is that the less parallel our back is to the ground, the less shear forces that are acting on our back straight down, which means that there's less strain or stress on our lower back, and more strain and stress on our posterior chain, our hamstrings, our glutes, and then our lats up top that are doing a lot of work. So then again, from this position, we take the slack of the bar. We're in a good tight position. We're going to drive the heels into the ground. We're going to hinge the hips forward, squeeze into the bar. Each rep. And again, I tuck my chin at the top just as a reminder to keep my eyes down and keep my neck in a neutral position at the bottom. Okay, so then I just shot a video of me also doing the same 3 lifts from a straight ahead view. Again, the first one is the Romanian. So you see that I'm driving into the bar. My knees are inside my hands. Got this tiny bend in the knee, and after that initial bend at the top, it does never change again. And then the next one, we're going to go to the sumo, wide stance. This is the kind of the stance, this is the width I like to pull with. If I do pull sumo, it's not really my favorite variation, but if I do pull, this is about the width I go with. Hands are just inside the knees. Now, width of the hands is, again, independent of you. Some people like to have them right against their knees. Some people like to have them kind of narrow, almost right on the edge of this knurling on the bar. But you can find what's comfortable for you. I'm going to use a mixed grip too here. You can use overhand or a mixed grip. That's up to you. Going to take slack out of the bar. I'm going to sit my hips back. I should be able to see the logo on my shirt. And then I'm going to initiate the pull, finish, drive my hips into my hands, squeeze the glutes. Okay. And then the next one, that's our sumo. And then the third one, just like I showed you before, is going to be the conventional. So we're looking at narrower stance, kind of almost like a Romanian. That's our setup. Just like a Romanian, pushing the hips back. Then I'm going to reach for the bar. I'm going to grab hold of the bar. Okay. Then I'm going to pull the bar nice and close to my shins. I'm going to bend at the knee and drop my butt down so that I can see the logo on my shirt. And then I'm going to pull from that nice strong position, finish with the hips. I'm not leaning away from the bar, I'm driving my hips into the bar. Okay, that's a big thing. You want to make sure you're not leaning backwards with your shoulders or arching at your lower back away from the bar and pulling the bar into you. You should be actively pulling the bar against you and actively shoving your hips against the bar. Okay. This is a little bit different view, and I take a little bit more time on the setup of each one. So on the setup, it's the same whether you're using a sumo, a Romanian, a conventional. It's always the same. You're going to stand up nice and tall. You're going to make sure you're in a good position. I like to put one hand right above my pubic bone, and one hand right on my sternum, right below my sternum. And I like to take a big deep breath, exhale all the way. So I expand the lungs, exhale, and then I squeeze my glutes to lock that good position in, because the distance from your rib cage to your pubic bone shouldn't change, okay, while you're setting up or while you're deadlifting. So by squeezing the pelvis, I lock it in place. And I keep myself in that good position. And then once I've locked it into place, I initiate my setup. Push the hips back. I grab the bar. This is the conventional deadlift, by the way. So I'm going to grab the bar. I'm going to pull myself down. I'm going to bend the knees, drop my butt, engage the lats, and then I'm going to pull from a strong position, driving my hips into the bar. Driving my hips into the bar. Good. Okay. Then we're going to move to the sumo setup. I think we're moving to the sumo. Yeah, sumo wide stance. Same thing, I notice I have to put my hand on my pubic bone, hand on my rib cage, make sure they're the same distance. I take a big breath in, big exhale, I squeeze my butt, keep it locked in, drive the hips back, grab the bar, drop my butt, and pull. And then I'll show you the Romanian. Same thing. Get comfortable. Check the distance of the rib cage to the pubic bone. Big breath. Exhale. Squeeze the glutes. Lock it in. Drive the hips back. Okay. Grab the bar. And since this is a Romanian, we're not going to bend our knees to set up. Where you're going to pull from that position. Hips go back. See how I notice that angle in my knee. It's very small at the beginning, and it doesn't change throughout the lift. It's all movement at the hips. That's what you want to happen. So I hope that helped. Hope that cleared some questions up. If you have any questions about the 3 that I didn't answer in the video, hit me up at the gym on Monday, and I'll explain more. But those are the basic tenets. They're the same across all 3 variations. Just you have a little bit different hand position and foot position, but you still finish the same. You set up pretty much the same. It's a universal movement, so it should be pretty constant except for the different variations. And the reasons for the variations are if we want to place more emphasis on the glutes and the hamstring, we're going to use Romanian. If we're going to pull a lot of weight, we probably want to use a conventional or a sumo. So it depends on what we're going for. So I try to intermix them into the program for the different purposes. So I hope that clears some stuff up for you guys. And then I'll see you guys on Monday.